Few people's names in American history inspire as much hatred as Ted Bundy. Throughout the 1970s, Bundy terrorized a number of American states and committed at least 30 murders. After a horrifying murder that shocked Florida, a murder that would send him straight to the electric chair, he was finally caught. On October 28, 1965, Kimberly Leach was born in Lake City, Florida. Kimberly was a straight-A student and the runner-up Valentine Queen in 1978, when she was a 12-year-old 7th grader at Lake City Junior High School. Kimberly was going through a fun time in her life. She had just gotten her first boyfriend and had chosen a brand new dress that her mother would buy her for a school dance. Kimberly showed up early on February 9, 1978, at Lake City Junior High School. She left her first period class just before 9 in order to retrieve her purse, which she had unintentionally left in her homeroom. In the pouring rain, Kimberly found the purse and made her way back to her classroom. However, Kimberly never returned to class. Kimberly's parents, Thomas and Frida Leach, were worried when she didn't return home from school that afternoon. They contacted everyone they knew, but no one knew where Kimberly was. Their worry turned to fear when they discovered that Kimberly had attended her first period class but never left. They reported their daughter missing to police right away. Paul Philpott, the police chief of Lake City, stated in the media that he wasn't convinced that Kimberly wasn't a runaway, but Thomas and Frida vehemently disagreed, insisting that Kimberly would not have fled. Sherry Roberts McKinley, a friend of Kimberly's, concurred. "We were aware that something was off," she said. "Kim was not the type of student to leave campus or skip class. We were 12 after all." She was also very shy. An eyewitness who had observed Kimberly being called up to a white car outside the school shortly after 9 a.m. that day came forward to support their claims. Kimberly vanished shortly after, and the car began to squeal its way down the street. Investigators in Tallahassee were looking into an attack on the Chi Omega sorority that had occurred only 3 weeks prior when Kimberly vanished. 3 women were critically injured, and 2 women were killed in the senseless attack. Investigators in Tallahassee were already aware of an attempted kidnapping in Jacksonville, about 60 miles east of Lake City, before they even learned about Kimberly's disappearance. Leslie Ann Parmenter, 14, was approached by a nervous-looking man in a white Dodge van outside her school on February 8th, the day before Kimberly vanished. He attempted to talk to Leslie while he pretended to be a member of the fire department. A short while later, Danny, Leslie's brother, arrived to pick her up, and the man quickly sped away. Leslie and her brother noted the license plate number of the white Dodge, 13D 11300, as they were both suspicious. Leslie and Danny provided a detailed description of the man, and a composite sketch was drawn up. This composite sketch was then sent to investigators in Tallahassee, working on the Chi Omega sorority attack. They recognized the sketch immediately as the main suspect in the murders, Ted Bundy. At the time, Bundy was a fugitive from Colorado, where he had been facing trial for the murder of Karen Campbell. He had already been convicted of kidnapping a woman named Carol Duranch in Salt Lake City. Investigators started to believe that Bundy had tried to kidnap Leslie and kidnapped Kimberly. His capture prompted a statewide alert, and he was added to the FBI's 10 Most Wanted list. He was already under investigation for more than a dozen homicides in Colorado, Utah, Washington, Oregon, and California, demonstrating the urgency of finding Kimberly alive. Ted Bundy was captured in Pensacola 6 days later while operating a stolen car. Investigators found several credit cards in his car, and after analyzing them, they revealed that Bundy had bought gas in Jacksonville on February 8th and had it delivered to a car with the license plate number 13D 11300. Additional credit cards discovered in the car showed that Bundy had booked a room and paid for food at the Lake City Holiday Inn, which is only 3 miles from Kimberly's school, the night before she vanished. Employees claimed to have observed Bundy drinking in the hotel bar on the evening of August 8th. He left the following morning by 8 a.m., and Kimberly left the following morning at 9 a.m. Another vehicle connected to Bundy was found, the white Dodge, which was even more damning to his case. 2 sizable human blood spots and fiber traces that matched Kimberly's purse were discovered inside by forensic experts. According to a professional analysis of soil and leaves discovered both outside and inside the car, they originated from a moist river bottomland similar to that found along the Suwannee River. For weeks, both volunteers and police officers searched the flat North Florida towns, fields, and crossroads. In fact, it was the biggest search of its kind ever conducted in Florida. Nearly 2,000 square miles of land had been covered by searchers who had spread out across 4 different counties. Just north of Interstate 10, they had the Suwannee River State Park in their sights. Meanwhile, Bundy was detained. Detective Norman Chapman of the Pensacola Police Department approached Bundy and said, "Ted, if you will tell me where the body of Kimberly Leach is, I'll go get it and let the parents know that the child is dead." At Suwannee River State Park, the search had been ongoing for several weeks. They traveled in 4-wheel drives, helicopters, airplanes, horses, and on foot. Divers were requested to search the river, and they even employed high-tech stereo and infrared photography. The search at Suwannee River State Park went on through April 7th. After lunch, Florida Highway Patrol Officer Kenneth Woodrow Robinson organized a search party that spread out deeper into the forest, starting at a sinkhole. After about 15 minutes of minute-by-minute searching, Trooper Robinson spotted a sheet metal shed surrounded by a wire fence. He thought it appeared to be an old hog pen with a metal lead-to. Trooper Robinson walked up to the building and looked around. He noticed a tennis shoe first, then a pullover jumper. He then noticed a bone that was visible. Trooper Robinson took a step back and made a backup request. Dr. Paul Lipkovich, the medical examiner in Jacksonville, entered the grim scene as it was taped off as a crime scene. He discovered Kimberly's lifeless body inside the hog pen. Other than a pullover jumper, she was naked. Next to her body were piles of clothing, including her blue jeans. Despite being in a severe state of decomposition, Kimberly's identity was confirmed thanks to dental records. Homicide violence about the neck region had been inflicted upon her. The funeral for Kimberly was held on April 12th. Kimberly's flower-adorned casket was positioned at the front of Parkview Baptist Church as hundreds of mourners, including some of her classmates, filed in. The service was presided over by Reverend J.R. Height, who declared, "Jesus will wipe away your tears, and God will give you strength." Around 35 Florida Highway Patrol troopers attended the funeral. They had searched in vain for Kimberly and were heartbroken by the fact that they couldn't save her. He continued, telling Kimberly's friends and family that Kim knew Jesus in a personal way, and she in his presence. Then, at Memorial Cemetery, Kimberly was laid to rest. In addition to the attempted murders of Kathy Kleiner, Karen Chandler, and Cheryl Thomas, Margaret Bowman and Lisa Levy were murdered by Chi Omega sorority members before Bundy was tried for Kimberly's slaying. He was found guilty and given the death penalty. He was put on trial for the murder of Kimberly Leach 6 months later. The defense requested that the trial be moved from Lake City to Live Oak because they believed that Bundy could not receive a fair trial there. He was once more found guilty and given a death sentence. After his convictions, Bundy admitted to at least 35 homicides that occurred between 1974 and 1978. One of the victims Bundy confessed to killing was Kimberly Leach. When asked if the figure was accurate, he cryptically replied, "Add another digit." He told FBI Special Agent Bill Hagmeyer that his initial plan had been to kidnap and kill a teacher or mother, dropping off a child at school, but that when he saw Kimberly alone, his plan changed. He didn't give any more information. Bundy's scheduled execution date in January 1989 was drawing near. "We've never forgotten," Mayor General Witt said in a statement to the Tampa Bay Times. "There will be a great deal of handshakes, high fives, and other celebrations after he is gone because they finally killed the idiot." Following Kimberly Leach's kidnapping and murder, life in Lake City underwent a change. Students who have never met Kimberly are taught about safety and placed in walking groups with friends to and from school. Ted Bundy's sentence was finally over on January 24, 1989. By disclosing more information about his killing spree, he was able to delay his execution. Just before 7 a.m., he was led to the electric chair. His final words were spoken to his legal counsel. Immediately after saying, "Jim and Fred, I'd like you to give my love to my family and friends," the executioner flipped the switch, injecting 2 5,000 volts into Bundy's body. At 7:16 a.m., he was pronounced dead.